hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney. In 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? BT Unleashed with you. We got a big one today. Yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed the Michael K spot. I'm going to get to that. I got to circle back to something that he said yesterday. I'm going to actually play it for you. But a couple of little housekeeping notes here. First up, so I'll be pretty busy today there, J-Rod. Coming up at 2:35 later on. Let's get this up on the board. This guy is absolutely hysterical. I've become pretty good friends with him. Jimmy Fela, who is just an absolute trip. And his journey is amazing. He was a taxi cab driver for about 10 years. And I didn't know this, unbeknownst to me, because he had me on a show for the Super Bowl. And by the way, I pretty much nailed the exact score and I won you some money. But anyway, he was a big fan and he used to listen to me, even going back to the 1050 days. So we've gotten to know each other a bit. Anytime he wants to get into some sports stuff, he reaches out. So we said, hey, you want to come back on? I said, yeah, man, let's do it. So we're going to do that today, 2:35. It's a national show. There's and obviously the audio component. There's the visual component. So that is later on today, 2:35 Eastern, Fox Across America, Jimmy Fallon, number one. Number two, and I cannot wait to get into this. I'm going to drop this probably Sunday night around 6 o'clock, right? And when I tell you the amount of work and crunching of numbers and recollection and talking to people, because like I can't mess this up. You know how much the Big East means to me. Well, this is going to drop on Sunday night. J-Rod, I'm pumped up. You know it. My all-time Big East team is going to drop Sunday. Some additional fresh content in addition to the live show. And I mean, it is extensive. I mean, I've got the 5 starters. I've got the 7 reserves. I've got the head coach. I even went so far because I was leaving a lot of names out. I'm like, I don't know about this. I came up with a 10-deep honorable mention list because think about this, guys. There's been so many different iterations of the Big East. And the reason I want to drop this on Sunday is obviously the regular season is going to wrap up this weekend in the conference for all the conferences. And then some of the conference tourneys are already underway. But the Big East center stage next week at the Garden. Now, the way it worked out is that what went down last night, St. John's got a break. So if they win tomorrow in Newark against Seton Hall, which is not going to be easy, very quietly, Shaheen Holloway's squad is looking like they're going to get that 4 spot and avoid playing that first day. Good for them. I like when the Pirates are good. It's good for the area. It's good for the Big East. Anyway, if St. John's wins tomorrow, and again, no guarantee that they do because they almost lost to Seton Hall at the Garden about a month or so ago, then based on what happened last night, St. John's will get the 1 seed, and UConn will be the 2 seed based on the tiebreaker. So that's coming up on Sunday. It will not be live. I will drop it as different type of content. Now, we can get that off the screen. We'll get into the rest of the show. But before we do that, Jay, so you guys know J-Rod. You love J-Rod. He's awesome. He's doing a great job. Look at the paint. What's up, dude? Look at where are you today? What are you at
the grandparent? Yeah, you know, we getting ready for the big fight.
With Bada Booms?
Yes, sir. Also, just little side cut.
Yeah.
Turns out Bada Booms is from the town over from me.
The hell out of here. Are you serious?
Isn't that insane? Him and I have been texting. We grew up 10 minutes away from each other.
What? It's ironic. There you go.
Not rivaling high schools, but like our high schools definitely played each other in sports and stuff like that.
I'm gonna have to try to find some old audio. Here's Bada Booms on the perimeter, a couple of dribbles into the paint, poked away, stolen by J-Rod. J-Rod going back the other way, bounce pass, no look. J-Rod with the dime, and Bada Booms team is calling a timeout. They're down 37-12.
Yep, big time.
That's cool. But right, I got a question for you. Hold on. So the all-time Big East team. You're a Syracuse guy, as many people know, and those who didn't just found that out. And you are obviously a lot younger, so there's been, and you're no longer the Big East. And I get the decision for football clearly, but just, I mean, certainly Syracuse lost its soul when they left the Big East, and elements of the Big East did as well. Now, I know you know your history because basketball is your favorite sport. I've got 5 starters, I've got 7 reserves, and I've got 10 honorable mentions. Tell me, I don't know if I'm not going to divulge much here. That's coming on Sunday. Tell me how many Syracuse Orangemen you think, or Orange, whatever they call themselves these days, what they are, how many will be represented on my all-time team for the Big East Conference?
Currently, I'm going to go 3 to 4, maybe.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go. All right. Derek Coleman.
Mhm.
That's a no-brainer in my mind. All right. Carmelo to me is a toss-up with you because I know he's not, I know he's not always in the best of graces.
But we leave bias at the door when we do this stuff. We've got, we got to do our job. Keep going.
And then the other two I'd say who could, make the team, Earl the Pearl Washington.
You mean not Earl, Dwayne. You meant
Oh,
Earl's
Dwayne
the Nick.
Pearl
Yeah, you meant I know what you
I
meant.
see,
Yep.
I see.
I got you.
And then Dave Bing.
Wow. Now Dave Bing,
that's old school.
Oh, I know.
That's why I think it might kind of contest with the list would be my guess.
Yep.
But we'll see.
Okay, pretty good guesses there. Again, I'm not going to divulge much. The one thing that I will tell you is that as Dave Bing, who was also the former mayor of Detroit. I don't know if you knew that. He went on to politics.
No clue.
Dave Bing went on to politics. But when Dave was at Syracuse, remember, they weren't in the Big East yet because the Big East was formed in, it's all good. They were formed in 79. And obviously, Dave, I think Dave was in the 60s. I know he wasn't in the mid 70s. I'm pretty sure 60s, somewhere around there, a long time ago. Anyway, you cut it. The challenge for me was that there's been so many different iterations. That's why I had to do an honorable mention. Because you think about the early Big East days, like 79, like some of the charter teams, like obviously St. John's and Georgetown, and, the Pitts and the Villanovas and the Boston colleges and teams like that. But then later on, you had like Miami and Virginia Tech and Louisville and Notre Dame and Marquette came in and all these different iterations. It was a task, man. So I can't wait to drop this on Sunday. I put in, not that I'm looking for a pat on the back, but you know how serious I take my St. John's hoops. You know how serious I take my Big East conference. It's truly one of my favorite things ever in the history of sports. And by the way, have you seen, it's old at this point, but you got to go back and see it if you haven't. Have you seen the 30 for 30 Requiem for a Big East on ESPN?
I don't believe I've seen it yet. No.
Oh, dude, you absolutely have to see this. You must see it. That is homework. So I gave you homework last week. You came correct. You did it. I told you had to watch the Warriors movie. Get a little grit, get a little 70s in J-Rod's life. And he did that like the good student that he is. Now you got to go back and you will not want it to end. Like it's the kind of thing, put it this way. When you just humming through channels, like, for me, like there's no Yanks, no Mets, no Knicks. I'm not working Johnny's, no games for the kids, most importantly, nothing going on with the house. And I'm just kind of, randomly flipping through. All right, there's Duke. I'll stick with Duke. All right, there's Houston Cougars. I'll stick with them, whatever it might be. And, then all of a sudden you'll see like a 30-30 on one of the 9,000 channels that ESPN has. And when that comes on, I can't turn the channel. And I know every word. I can't turn the channel. It's that good. Yeah. So check it out. You're going to learn a lot. It's really, really good.
Done.
Okay. So how good was Michael K yesterday? I mean, the numbers are off the charts. You guys loved it. And I thought that was about as raw. I've never heard. I've worked with Michael, or I used to work with Michael for a good 10 years. All right. He was at ESPN Radio from day one. Him and Don. Don was the first voice. And I'm going to have Don on the show next week, by the way. So Donnie was the first voice on 1050. Kay was doing the middays. And then I came 2 years after that in 2003. And then like Stephen A came a year after that, with roughly a year. So I've known Michael a long time. And Michael, and he even said this on the show, like, he's going to need a team of surgeons to split open his brain and find out what the hell is wrong with him. I mean, he's brilliant and he's terrific at his job, but he's out of his mind. Like all of us in this business, doesn't eat ketchup. Like there's just certain things he doesn't do. And I don't think that I've ever heard Michael curse. Mike dropped a couple of curses on the show. So, and one of which came from a story that he was telling about his dad, which was absolutely hysterical. Being raised by a tough Bronx dad back in the day. Anyway, it was absolutely phenomenal. It's a good hour-ish, 55 minutes. So if you guys didn't check it out, you want to check it out in its entirety, just go on the channel here. It is really, really good. One of the shorts got like 37,000 hits already on Instagram. Listen, I'm not surprised. It's Michael K, but I appreciate his time. And it was just such a candid conversation. And that is the goal here, among many goals, BT Unleashed, the show, the fam, the channel, the new platform, the building of this. I'm not going to get people on and, hey, what do you think about this? Like, you got to have a conversation and you've got to have relationships. So I'm just starting to really, again, I don't mean this in a braggadocious kind of way, but I'm just starting to tap into my Rolodex, which is very vast. So whether it's guys I worked with on the radio and the old radio wars and all that stuff, which you guys always enjoy, I had to go to St. John's yesterday to record the TV show with Rick. And he said, yeah, I'm definitely going to come on the show. Now, the thing with that, and then I want to get into today's show, and I want to start with something that Kay said. I'm going to actually play it for you, and then I'm going to react. But the thing about Rick, I've got to find out logistically what's best for him, because it's not about what's best for me. He's got bigger fish to fry. He's getting ready for the NCAA tournament. So I would think that, they'll play on Friday night, and then they will not play Wednesday. Those will be the 4 bottom teams, and then they'll play on Thursday, either the 1 or the 2 seed, probably the 1 if things work out well. And then it's just microwave scouting. So I'm not going to bother him. Like, once you find out on Selection Sunday who you're playing, where you're going, I mean, it's all right, we got this team from this conference. They literally watch film all day and all night because it is microwave scouting, as I said. So I'll be traveling with the team. So I'll bring you all the content from the first and the second rounds of whatever site we go to. But I would think, just based on the logistics and what I think Rick wants to do, and I don't want to put him in a rough spot, I would like to get Rick on Monday where, all right, we know where they're going. We know who they're playing. They either won the Big East tournament or did not. Here's the seeding. We go from there. All right, so yesterday we hit a million things with Kay. Again, he was so fantastic. And one of the topics, and I want to start our show with this, what kind of job security does Boone have? Is Boone on thin ice this year if things don't go well? If there's a quick bounce from the postseason, is this it for Boone this year?
It could happen. I mean, I think it could happen. He has only 1 year left. Hal doesn't like to pay people for not working. Mm-hmm. And I never thought he was going to be let go last year. People on my show, I don't know if it was like this with you and Sal, in order, they hate Cashman, they hate Boone, and then Hal.
Yes, that's the order. That's universal. That's the order.
And I think the Hal criticism is ridiculous. Oh, he's cheap. He's not cheap. Oh, he doesn't want to win. He desperately wants to win. He's just not his dad. That's a hard act to follow. I think Boone's a good manager. I think it's tough to win. I think it's just really, really, really tough to win. And sometimes he's had imperfect teams. I think if you asked him which one he takes the hardest, it would be last year. Just sitting next.
Okay, so there you go. And again, the entire interview is up on the channel. Listen, at this point, guys, I'm not going to convince you one way or the other. And quite frankly, I'm not even going to try to. I respect your opinions. You know my opinion on Boone. And let me also say this. Any friendship that I have with Aaron, which is pretty strong, you guys know that, anything that I say is going to be rooted in reality. Everybody knows I love the guy. Everybody knows I have great, profound respect for the human being, the man that Aaron Boone is, because I think when you look at, how he's comported himself as the Yankee manager and really, on a personal level, just, what he did for me and Sal coming out to Red Bank, New Jersey from Connecticut when we did the first BT and Sal live show. By the way, the second one is all over my social channels. It's up there April 2nd in Wantagh, Mulcahy's. You got the ticket link. It's going to be great. Carl Banks is coming. Listen, we don't roll out the C-listers. Like Boonie came out for the first one. You know what happened with me and Sal and Carl Banks on WFAN. So a full circle moment with Carl at Mulcahy's. Tickets out there. Go check them out. We already sold a bunch, so you guys want to jump in soon. But I promise you either choose to believe this or not. That's fine. I'm not going to waste much time on this. When I tell you how I judge him and what I perceived him to be as a manager of the Yankees, it's rooted in my reality and sensibility as a baseball fan, a baseball observer, not my friendship with Aaron. So I just want to get that out of the way. And I know that there's still many of you that won't believe it. Do what you got to do. Believe what you want. Now, the run of Aaron as a Yankee manager, it's obviously been very good, all right? 7 of 8 years playoffs. The 1 year he didn't make the playoffs, that's when Judge got hurt in L.A. when he hurt his foot running into the wall. Yeah, I'm compelled to say those idiotic Dodger jerks they didn't fix the concrete slab that was hanging out from 1969 whenever they built that stadium. Anyway, Boone, to me, with the World Series appearance, couple of 100-win seasons, all the stuff he's done, right? When you look at the Yankees, and the reality is they have not won a World Series since 2009. Now, other things that Kay said, and I agree with this, Hal is not cheap. That's gotten hijacked, and it's a real unfair misrepresentation of Hal. I think the difference, and this is a very easy one to identify, the difference between Hal and George is that winning was oxygen for George. If George didn't win, George couldn't breathe. And in a lot of ways, sometimes he tripped all over himself trying to figure out a way to win, which is why he was at times a colossal pain in the ass, which is something that is omitted from the George Steinbrenner legacy conversation. Because when he got suspended, when he got banned from baseball for a couple of years, that's when the Yankees dynasty was built. Like, he was pushed out. Stick Michael took over. We know the story. I don't need to reset it. I was thrilled that he got banished. Like, let's not overly romanticize what George was. Now, his persona, his personality, his affinity for the Yankees, and that almost that militaristic presentation. J-Rod, you can keep that up. I'll get to it. That win at all costs and just what he projected, it's very different than Hal. And that shouldn't be surprising. I mean, if you think about the way George ran the Yankees, how do you think George ran the house? I mean, his son probably terrified to say anything to him. So he's got a very sedate, softer presentation than George. But to say that Hal doesn't want to win is patently offensive and inherently false and unfair. Now, the difference is, as I said, George looked at, winning, that was his oxygen. And when he didn't win, he started panting. And then he's like, I gotta get this guy. I got to fire that guy. I got to do this. I got to fire this GM. And that was him searching for more oxygen in his lungs because he was pursuing winning at all costs. That's not Hal. That's never going to be Hal. And, if we keep complaining about this, we're wasting everybody's time because Michael nailed it. Now, I agree with a lot of the things that Michael said, not everything, but he absolutely nailed it when he said, I don't know what you and Sal went through, but the calls that he gets and the narrative on the Yankees right now, when you look at the criticisms, it's Cashman 1, it's Boone 2, and it's Hal 3. I would agree, this. I mean, Brian Cashman has not earned the right, all that crazy stuff from the fan. Brian Cashman, to me, the last 10 years or so, has been much more of a problem than the answer. Just talking about baseball, I like the guy, but he's been worse than he's been great. Because when you have that amount of money and you spend that amount of money, there's going to be a correlation of winning to some extent. And, there's been many things with the Yankees that have been broken, whether it's the development of young players or hugging the prospects or not giving them runway to play, like Dominguez probably not going to make the team. Michael said that yesterday as well. And I firmly believe Jones has no chance to make the team. And I don't think Dominguez is making the team, which drives me nuts. All right. And then, even years before that, they had no left-handed hitters, which is unfathomably nuts with a 314-foot porch in right field. And then now they seemingly basically have no right-handed hitters. So there's just always something a little off with the Yankees lately, and that's Cashman. But if you look at, and answer me honestly here, if you're not a Boone fan, and that's fine, or even a Boone believer, I don't know anybody that dislikes Aaron because he's such a good guy, but you can criticize things about his managerial style. I get that. I mean, he colossally bombed Game 1 of the World Series, Cortez. That was ridiculous. And I said it the next day on The Fan, and I said it to Aaron. And he's like, all right, that's your opinion. He can't stand. I will get texts, and Sal will as well, when we're talking about Trent Grisham, and he's not a leadoff hitter for a team that's supposed to win a World Series or be in the hunt for a World Series. He's not that kind of player. But yet they keep telling us that he's the best fit for a leadoff hitter. I don't think he is. Now, that's more of a Cashman thing because you can only write out the lineup based on what you're given. Anyway, I do think the pecking order should be more, and Michael said Cashman, Boone, Hal. I actually think it's Cashman, Hal, Boone. Because when you look at there's two aspects to winning, right? There's the construction of a team, and then there's the application and the managerial style of the roster that you're given. You tell me who's more culpable. Has Brian Cashman given Aaron Boone truly a world championship roster? And the answer is no. And the other thing that I've said, so I'm going to exonerate Boone on a lot of levels there. And the other thing too, guys, and I think you really have to understand this. If you are pining and yelling and screaming and just you can't wait to get rid of Aaron Boone, let me ask you something. Let's say the Yankees go, I don't know, I think they're about a 92-win team right now, something like that. Let's say the Yankees, now, I do think there's a lot of upside with the pitching staff, you know that. Let's say the Yankees win, let's split the difference, 93 games, and, say if they lose in the first round. Maybe they don't win the division, and I don't think 93 would be enough to win it. They don't win the division. They get bumped in the first round, or they win the first round like last year and they look overmatched or sloppy or whatever. In the next round, they get bounced. Well, you just heard me ask Michael, do you think that this would be the end for Boone? And yeah, I think that there's a real chance that that's true. And on a lot of levels, again, personal relationship aside, you don't think that I can understand that? Of course I could. And I do. But what I push back on, understand, if you want Boone gone, what do you think the Yankees are going to do whenever they have? I mean, Aaron Boone's not going to coach for 100 more years. I mean, he's not going to manage for 100 more years. So whenever they move on from Boone, do you think that they're going to go outside the organization and find that old school ass kicker that every Yankee fan wants, which, by the way, doesn't really exist anymore? I mean, there's a dearth of those type of managers. Who does that anymore? Really? I mean, it's analytically driven for the most part. Now, Boone's pushed back on that. He says, he's told me and he's told you that the Yankees are really the least analytically reliant team in the American League East. And I believe him. You know why I believe him? Because numbers are irrefutable. And you can check that stuff out. And he's not lying, all right? But whenever they move on from Aaron Boone, they're going to go in the organization. This is my opinion. And they're going to elevate somebody that's already there, all right? Now, if the root of your pushback with the Yankees is that they need a different philosophy, which I get to an extent. I don't think you're nuts to think that. Or it's just time for a new voice, or you want somebody who's more old school and is going to light up the players again, which, by the way, doesn't really happen anymore. Hate to break it to you. But if you think that they're going to fire Boone or move on from Aaron whenever they do and try to find that guy with a different team, there's nobody out there like that. Who is the guy? I mean, we all have this perception in our minds like Billy Martin. Billy Martin managed 3-4 decades ago, guys. You got to put that out of your head. Or Jim Leland. I mean, Jim Leland's been out of the game for a long time. Tony La Russa was very much a numbers guy as well. Different personalities. Well, great manager, great tactician. But those guys are, I mean, it's a dying era. It's a dead era. It's not a dying era. It's a dead era. The fact to me, one of the things that I love about Boone is that I think that he is so equipped, because he shows it all the time, to deal with the bullshit that comes with being the manager of the Yankees. Like, where are their flare-ups? Like, think about, again, even though I said it was a million years ago, think about all the nonsense. And the newspapers covered teams differently back then. Really, back then with Billy Martin, and before that, the newspapers were the radio. And now what's becoming, different types of content as conventional radio is beginning to change. I don't want to say die off. I'm not trying to disrespect it. So I've got love for terrestrial radio. I always will. But it doesn't have the same cachet and the same juice it once had. It just doesn't, because there's a lot of outlets out there. And you look at these podcasts and you look at these shows. Half of these shows are the hosts are former athletes. You know what I mean? So the entire game has changed, right? And back then with a Martin and a Reggie fight, or a Munson and a Munson and a Reggie issue, or when Goose had fights with, I think that was Cliff Johnson in the shower, or the Mets and the anarchy of the great '86 Mets team. Really later on they couldn't stand each other when they had the fist fight with Keith and Darryl. I think that was 88 maybe, or maybe 89. I think it was after they lost to the Dodgers on picture day. They started throwing punches. Either way, it was covered differently by the newspapers, and the energy, like the manager really had to deal with a lot of stuff. Now, the manager still has to deal with a lot of stuff, but because you speak to the media before the game, you speak to the media after the game. You speak to the media twice a day. And if you're Aaron Boone, whether it's jumping on WFAN with me and Sal, or jumping on here, which he will on BT Unleashed, or John Boy, and I think he's the channel. I really think that he has the perfect demeanor for 2026. Now, if you have this antiquated mindset of especially what a Yankee manager should be, I don't know what to tell you. I really can't help you. It's not going to go backwards, guys. It's only going to evolve, and it's going to become a little bit more sterile and a little bit more benign and a little bit more homogenized. Like, I mean, if you don't know that by now, you're just never going to know it. If you don't notice this, that the entire landscape has changed. What I want to say the power, well, maybe I will say a little bit of the power. Some of the power that the managers have, it's been diminished a little bit because it's more shared in terms of the analytical input, which is just the reality of the game. You can push back on it, but it is what it is. And, let's just say, you can keep that up. I'm going to start reading some of these, I promise. Let's just say, all right, I've had some issues with Jazz Chisholm, right? And he's wildly talented. I don't like the fact that he said he's going for 50-50 because I wonder when you're going for 50 bombs, what you're sacrificing in terms of contact and strikeout rate. But whatever, we'll see. And I don't think there's any way the Yankees give him a long-term contract. I'm on the record with that. But as wildly talented as he is, he's the best athlete on, even Kay said it. I agree. Best athlete on the team, runs like the wind, easy power, just that loose-limbed, long, explosive body that every scout looks for. Got a good arm. Got it all, right? But he is a little spacey on occasion, whether it's the World Series, not paying attention when the ball's trickling through the infield, or other moments. If that was Billy Martin, he would have eviscerated. He may have pulled him off the field. He would have eviscerated him the moment Jazz got to the top step of the dugout. Do you think that anybody's going to do that nowadays? Do you really think that? It's just an unexpected reality. Stop waiting for it. So mainly the pushback, because you can't say that Aaron Boone doesn't win enough. You can't say, outside of the World Series, which is more of a Cashman thing, in my opinion. You can't say that it's a sloppy clubhouse and there's leaks everywhere, because it's incredibly buttoned up and professional. And I don't even think, I really believe this, and this is one of the main reasons why I support Boone, friendship aside. I don't look at any of these Yankee teams and say, wow, the Yankees underachieved. They were by far the best team in baseball. What the hell happened? Like, imagine if the 98 Yankees lost the World Series instead of just routing everybody. Now that's an underachievement because it would not have been congruent with their regular season. It's obvious. There's a reason why the Yankees have these June, late, middle of the season swoons. Start hot, go down, come back up, win some playoff games, and get bounced because the roster's not great. Because you got guys like Stanton who's still here, who can't run, can't throw, can't field. You got to keep a DH spot open for them. You didn't really know what to do in the outfield because Hal didn't want to spend on Harper or Machado or those guys. So, yeah, I guess we got to bring back Grisham. I mean, that's not Boone's fault. It's just not. All right. Robert Huertas. What up, Rob? How you doing, buddy? Great show with Kay. One of my favorite baseball people was Bobby Mercer, who I met with Rick Cerrone back in the 80s by City Hall. Is really missed. Bobby Mercer was a great guy. I have a story that I was talking to my dad yesterday, coming back from St. John's, right? That's when I really get to catch up with Dad. And by the way, it took me 2 hours. I missed baseball practice yesterday. I don't know what the hell was going on. And thank God we have 2 other great coaches, but I don't like missing practice. I was in the car for 2 hours and 9 minutes coming back from Queens, trying to get back to New Jersey. And it's usually not that, it's like an hour and an hour. Oh, brutal. So anyway, I always catch up with my dad during those car rides. And Bobby Mercer, who, as we know, and he was listening to the K interview, and he told me a story about one of his best friends growing up in Brooklyn. And I knew about this, but not to this extent. Frankie DeVivo, right? Left-handed pitcher, stud. He actually, the way he got signed by the Yankees, he was in the military for a couple of years, got signed by the Yankees. I think it was 2 days after he got out of the military. My dad was telling me. Frankie knocks on my dad's door. My dad's still living with his parents. They're young. He says, hey, I got to try out. True story. But I'm going to have my dad come on to tell you the whole story. This is the short version. He knocks on his door. Hey, Red. My dad's nickname was Red back in the day. He's got like that Irish. They call him Red, right? Yo, Red, I got to try out tomorrow at Rikers Island for the Yankees. Rikers Island. So back then, a lot of the big jails, they had great baseball teams. So they bring Frankie out to Rikers Island to pitch against their team. One of the guys was in the major leagues, and then he got hung up in whatever he got hung up with. He went to jail, and he threw like 5 innings, struck out 8. And my dad was there. It was one of his best friends. Right after the performance, the Yankee scout has Frankie sign like 5 contracts. Because back then, like you would sign, like it was D level, like D ball, like that was actually what it was called, D ball before you get to like A ball and rookie and all that stuff. So there's no phones back then, obviously. So Frankie's writing to my dad a couple times when he's in the minors. He was out like Johnston City, Tennessee, and then he was up, I think, in Oneonta, and he was a stud. He would have made the team. He would have been a pro, but he blew out his arm. Again, long story short, he writes one of the letters to my dad. He goes, I forget exactly what he wrote. He goes, there's this one dude here. He's the only guy better than me. It was Bobby Mercer. How sick is that? How great is that? I mean, the element, and that's the old school story. I'm going, again, Dad's got to figure out how to use this thing. Hopefully Mom could help him out as well. Because if J-Rod sends my dad a StreamYard link, there's no chance in hell we're getting my dad on the show. So we got to make sure we get this the right way. But what a great story. Riveting stuff. A tryout at Rikers. Could you imagine tomorrow there's a tweet that, the Yankees or the Mets signed so-and-so after a 3-year run in the military, after he struck out 8 batters in 5 innings against Rikers Island's team, the all-star team at Rikers. My God, that is absolutely incredible stuff there. So NYC 2DJ. All right. Listen, this is fair. I'm not going to explode over this. I can't change opinions. And it is what it is, and I'm fine with it. But love you, BT, but your Boone takes are biased, and you know it. You can't play both sides here. All right. That's why I preface everything with, our friendship. But I do get set. I crushed him. I don't know. I'm sure unless they just deleted me and Sal from the WFAN library, which I don't think that they did, you can go and find our show the day after the World Series when I absolutely crushed Boone for going to Cortez. It was a horrendous move. Now, it's easy to deduce from that, wow, it cost the Yankees the World Series. I mean, it could have. I don't think so, because I just think the Dodgers were a lot better. They caught the ball better. They ran the bases better. They had more better players, period. If Judge in center field and Garrett Cole and Rizzo at first base and, Jazz in the infield and Volpe and Jazz at third. I know what happened. But if you think that, guys, there's really nothing that I can say to try to change your mind, so I'm not going to try. All I could do is tell you and be my authentic self. And one thing that I've always taken great pride in doing this is that I'm always about, I'm not a journalist. I'm a content creator. And before I was creating content here, I was a passionate voice on the radio that, you always knew where I stood, didn't pull any punches, and I never played favorites. I mean, when I was covering the Knicks, and that was a tough dance. When I was covering the Knicks, doing the pre and the post game show for about 6 years back in the day, Isaiah years, whatever, halftime show, radio, TV stuff. You don't think I was burying the Knicks? I was. If you listen to me on 1050, you know that I was. So, and I was friends with Isaiah. I liked Isaiah Thomas a lot. I think he was a really good dude. You got to do your job. And if you don't think that I can separate the two, I respect that. I disagree, but I'm not going to fight City Hall trying to get you to change your opinion. That's fine. At some point, you need another voice in the room here. It's been a decade and Boone can't get him over the hump. He had his opportunity. That's fair. That's why I asked Michael K the question. I asked Michael, if things don't go well this year, is this the end for Boone? And I believe that it will be. And I would believe that and I will say at that point, Aaron Boone had a long enough run. Now, this is where you're going to think that I'm parsing words, but I'd be okay with the move. I want to see who they hire. All right. But I just don't think that he was ever given a championship roster. I just don't. And that goes into my feeling about never really underachieving and never woefully or radically falling short of what I expected the Yankees to be based on preseason projections and then how they finished up the year. If I'm sitting here for 9 years saying, oh, the Yankees going to, which I never did. I'm a realist with the Yankees. I'm not a Yankee fanboy. I'm just not. I want them to win. Everybody knows I'm a Yankee fan, but I'm a realist here. And I don't think the Yankees are a World Series team right now. The one asterisk there, the one caveat would be what I think their pitching staff could grow into. That excites me for sure. But the Yankees going to have a rough time winning a lot of games early. I mean, unless Aaron Judge carries them or Grisham gets off to the start that he did a year ago or whatever they do offensively. I mean, you're rolling out basically 60% of the time. A couple of guys taking the baseball every fifth day. Good luck. I mean, I'm not even sure the bullpen's that great. There are some young arms that I love, but you still got to see it come to fruition at this level. So I think navigating the first 2 months of the season, if the Yankees are 18-17, I mean, is that a Boone thing? Or is that because they don't have Rodon and they don't have Garrett Cole yet? Or, Louis Hill isn't what I know he hit 97.5 on the gun yesterday, which was good. The velo's coming back a little bit for Hill. I don't love Hill. I don't trust Hill, but I'm still optimistic. I guess I'm hopeful, but I'm not as bullish on Louis Hill as some of you are. I like Will Warren, but he's a young kid. He's going to be pitching a lot. I love Cam Schlittler season 2. Do you believe in a sophomore jinx? I don't necessarily believe in that because I think there's ways to work around it by doing your homework and making the adjustments that the league is about to make to you and on you. So almost preemptively having those adjustments ready based on the expectation of what you put on tape last year and what the rest of the league's going to try to do. So that's just how I feel. I'm sorry about that. I don't. This notion that Aaron Boone is a bad manager is honestly a crock of shit. It really is. I don't think it's with justification. I don't think it's accurate. Now, also, Aaron Boone or anybody does not deserve a job for life. Boone knows it. I know it. He said it. I said it. So as long as I say that, I don't see how I'm saying it both ways or having it both ways as that last text implied. I don't really say that. I don't see that. BT, your thoughts on Mark DeRosa, Mark, ever being considered for Boonie's job? Coach Mike from Great Kills. Yo, Mike, what's up? Mike, you never got back to me. I thought there was something. I think you have my number. I know we DM'd. I thought I gave you my phone number. You asked me, if I'm not mistaken, to maybe go out there and speak to the Staten Island Little. It is a great old school. I love it. To me, it's like, not that I like Fenway. I mean, I love Fenway, but I don't like the Red Sox. To me, it's like a little Fenway Park or a little Wrigley Field. Great Kills, where my son's at all the time, is it's right in the middle of a neighborhood. They got the best concession stand out there, there's no doubt. So hit me up if that's still in play there to come and speak to the kids. That I would be up for that if I could make it fit myself. I know the season's starting, so maybe that window passed already. But I love DeRosa. DeRosa was actually in play, I believe, was it the Mets job? Or was it when they hired Boone? It may have been when they hired Boone. I think Mark DeRosa is phenomenal. I love that he's managing Team USA. I love him on MLB Network. He's a New Jersey Bergen Catholic. I'm pretty sure it was Bergen. It was a Catholic school. It wasn't Seton Hall Prep, and it's not Del Barton, and it's not DePaul. It's not. I'm almost positive that it's Bergen Catholic. Played football, played at Penn, was a great football player. Yeah, he's a dude, right? And I love him, and I love when he talks hitting. I can watch him on that screen on TV, with either Sean Casey or Ripken or whomever's up there. Harold Reynolds, they do a phenomenal. I also geek out to that stuff. Like, I love that stuff. His approach to hitting is phenomenal, and I think his presentation is great. He's a local dude who knows how to deal with people, so I don't think he'd be overwhelmed by the media. I know he wouldn't be overwhelmed. I think he'd be great with the media, and I just don't know how much he wants to manage. I really don't. I think he said, I'd have to double, because I asked him this. Sam and I did a couple of shows at MLB Network. We did it twice to kick off the start of the baseball season. And it was awesome. I remember the first one. Sal always laughs. He's like, it's funny. You guys think that Sal's nuts, right? He's really not. Like, I don't want to say that I'm nuts. That's kind of crazy. But like, he is a little nuts on the air, I guess, and so am I. But he's like, dude, he's like, I don't know. I'd rather him say it, but like, I just walk in somewhere and I just make things happen. And he's a little bit more in the cut, kind of like laying in the weeds. Like when we did the show at MLB Network, I watch it on TV all the time. And they've got that little tiny stadium, Jackie Robinson Stadium, right? Studio 42. And we go there. It's a couple of years ago, me, Sal, and Hoff. We get there nice and early. And I'm like, look at this. They've got dugouts. They got helmets with all the teams. They got real bats. They got buckets of wiffle balls and wiffle bats. I'm like, let's go. Let's play. He's like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm hitting. I mean, hopefully somebody's going to throw to me. I'm taking BP. And Harold Reynolds wound up coming in, and we had Harold on the air and DeRosa, and he was throwing me BP, and it's a wiffle ball. He's kind of floating it in there, tagging it all over the yard. Absolutely awesome. But Sal always laughs at that. He's like, you're not shy at all. Like to ask for something or want something. Yeah. That's kind of the way I am. So we had DeRosa on, And I think that he said that he lives in Atlanta. I believe he told us that because his son's a really good player doing the club baseball scene. I think Mark coaches him. So I don't know where he is in life, and I'm certainly not looking to get rid of Aaron Boone. But I think at some point, I think somebody's going to give DeRosa a job if he wants it. But that's why I preface all that with the son and everything. Like to be to do anything in pro sports. Like if you're a football coach, man, it's just all year. The combine, the draft, the OTAs, through the season, the grind. Same if you're a GM, you never stop. You might get a month off to chill for a minute. In baseball, you're gone April through, if you're lucky, late October, early November. I mean, forget about April, middle of February. Because I remember, talking to Boonie, and this was early February. And he's like, yeah, I'm going down to Tampa in like 2 or 3 days. It was like April 3rd to set up and organizational meetings and all that stuff. It's basically a 9 or 10 month a year job. Now, Aaron's kids are older. It's a lifestyle. You're always traveling. You're always moving. You're always doing that stuff. I don't know if it's for everybody, but, whether it's here or elsewhere, to me, DeRosa would be an absolutely phenomenal choice. I think he's a great baseball man. I really do. Let me get at with Drew. Why is that not popping up? There we go. Cashman's essentially a Steinbrenner. I just don't see him being jettisoned ever. I agree with that. And that's a big problem. Yeah, I do agree with that. So, I mean, that when there's a level of comfort, okay, J-Rod, I didn't get that off, but I think we clicked on it at the same time. Thank you. When there's such a level of comfort, even guys, I got news for you. Even like on the radio, let me give you a little hint, or on TV, when people have, multi long-term contracts and kind of comfortable, that grind goes away for some, not for everybody. And I always use, this is such, me and Sal both love Rocky. I always use the Rocky analogy. Like, think about Rocky when he's trying to come up. He's fighting like in the Catholic Church in the Friday nights against a bunch of meatheads, and banging back Marlboros, and he's hanging out with loan sharks and mafia guys, and he's wearing the leather jacket, and he's just scrapping and scraping, and he's desperate to get out of his personal hell. I mean, otherwise, I remember his apartment with Buckus. It was not exactly a nice studio on the Upper West Side overlooking Central Park. That was early Rocky. Fighting, grinding, Mickey. And then Rocky made a few bucks, and then Rocky got the motorcycle, and then Rocky got the mansion, and then Rocky got his face kicked in by Clubber. Why? Because Rocky lost his edge. And that's the genesis of Eye of the Tiger. Weird. Oh, my God. I could watch Rocky all day. I could talk about Rocky all day. And Rocky, I remember when he was training for the first Clubber Lang fight, and Mickey's like, what are we doing here? Like, they got balloons, and he's training publicly, and they got like the violinist, doing the music, the Rocky music, and he's taking pictures. And Adrian gets a little pissed off because he gets a peck on the cheek from some hottie. He's not working hard because everything that he fought for, he got to, and then when it was taken away, he was able to dig back in and get there. And you either have that mentality or you don't. And I think guys like Boone, I don't think he's ever lost that. So, that's just basically my way of incorporating Rocky into any conversation. J-Rod, what's going on, buddy? How you feeling today? You all right there, buddy?
What's up? Feeling great. Feeling good.
Speaking of Rocky, right behind you, the boxing. I know I mentioned that before. It's cool. Yeah. Who is that? Is that just a random?
Yeah, I think it's just a random print, like based on. I don't think it's a real painting.
Yeah, it can't be because there's two white guys fighting. I mean, let's be honest. If you got two white guys boxing, it's probably not the most interesting boxing match.
No, it was 1920s when they're going, hey, put him up.
Hey, what do you got here? Hey, how about taking outside? My ring's outside.
Yeah. And they got like a couple beer stains on the wife protector.
Yeah, wife protector. Good usage.
Yeah, good
there.
Switch up.
Yeah, I always used to say that, and I never say that anymore. Yeah, good wife protector. I'm gonna steal that.
No, it's a good one. I think I just like heard it in school one time. I thought it was funny. It's
the exact opposite, actually, if you think
exactly.
about it. No, there you go. What else is? What's
I
happening?
had like a concept. I had a thought last night. Maybe I'll try to look through, but I was like, I want to give back to the Unleashed fam.
Oh.
I want to do a little segment, maybe on Fridays, where I compile the funniest comments from the week We throw them up. We react to it. I've got a couple
I love
that
it.
I think are
You do.
hilarious.
I love it, dude. Nice. Way to use your head. I like it.
So give me like 5 minutes. I'll try to just get the screenshots up for them. But yeah,
nice.
I was thinking about that. I think that'd be so fun.
I think it's great. I think it's a great way to be proactive. There you go. How awesome was it? Now we had Sal on. Sal was the first guest. How great was it having Kay on yesterday?
I mean,
he was great.
It was sensational. And I feel like I think it really, not to get too meta with the conversation, talking about the show, but I just really feel like it felt so natural. Obviously the back and forth going on between you two. And I really just think, you did a great job hitting the poignant questions, giving him his proper time as a host. Cause I mean, listen, I've worked on a lot of podcasts, and by this point, I know who's a good interviewer at this point and who's not. And you clearly showed the chops in that regard. And it felt very different from the BT and Sal, obviously, because you had that rapport before. And this time it felt like, it just felt really fresh, and it felt like, a great step, a great new element to the channel.
Well said, buddy. Look at J-Rod. I am like a proud papa. Look at this young man start to shine. You know what? I appreciate you saying that, because I'd rather somebody else say it rather than me. I just don't think that, because that just sounds cocky. I don't think a lot of people know, or now they do, how long Michael and I go back, obviously working together all those years. But I was at Michael's wedding. Like, I went to his wedding, and he was invited. Now, we got married down in Boca, right? And he was invited to our wedding, but he couldn't come because it was October, because my wife had to get married, on 10/10/10 is when we got married. October 10, 2010. Yeah. And I'm like, there's this little thing called Yankee playoff baseball here, honey. Well, come on, what are we doing? And at that point, the Jets were good. Yeah, I had a lot going on, but and then we went on vacation. We went on our honeymoon to Costa Rica. So I remember watching Yankee playoff games in Costa Rica. But Michael couldn't come. That was the point. Yeah, he's a great guy, man. I think that the more I do this, it's really my goal to get people to see the other side. Like, everybody knows Kay's the voice of the Yankees. No shit. You've heard him on the radio for 20 years and on TV for 20 years. Let's get to some other stuff. I've never heard that story about his dad. When somebody was making fun of him on the terrace, go down and fight him. Otherwise, and these are Kay's words, if you missed it, hey, if you don't go downstairs and beat the shit out of him, I'm going to come over there and beat the shit out of you. And it wasn't, and Michael, the way Michael said it, it was great. Number one, it was like, wow, you don't hear Mike. I mean, I have off the air, but you don't really hear Michael talk like that very much. And also, he said there were two choices, and I said, no, there's three. Go downstairs, get whacked. Stay upstairs, get whacked. And not that his dad would have, like given him a black eye, but point understood. Or you go downstairs and you, instead of doing the whacking, you get your ass kicked, but at least it's a step toward, defending yourself. And I was just a great story, man. I really, really enjoyed that. Let me get this up there. Where was it? Let me slap this guy up for you. This is interesting. I got a lot of this yesterday as well. If offered, would you go back to ESPN New York as Michael's co-host? I think the chemistry between you two was gold. Now, all right, a couple of things. First of all, I don't think Michael's looking for a co-host, number one. He's doing 2 hours a day. I think it's something that suits him. I think if Michael wanted to still have a co-host, I think that he would clearly still be working with Don. Now, he loves Don, but part of it was to get away from just the logistics, to shorten the day. And instead of doing a bunch of hours, do 2 hours so we could rest up before the Yankee games. And he does a bunch of shows from home outside of once a week when he drives in. Listen, I am of the mindset. What I don't want anybody to think, because this will not happen. We're going to hit 18,000 subs probably by tomorrow, and certainly by Saturday. We're going to fly by 20,000 subs by first pitch opening day. Lock. Going to happen. 25,000 is going to be a bit ambitious, which I'd love to get there by opening day. All right, maybe we don't, but we're going to be well past 20,000. Every moment of my day is spent on this show thinking or doing, all right? So I don't want anybody to think that has come here to support me and elevate me and embrace me and follow me and doing what you're doing to help us get to a pretty healthy number very soon, very fast, to think that I'm just doing this to hold the seat at the table until somebody comes and offers me a job. That's not what I'm doing. This will never go away, all right? I will do this no matter what. Now, I will also say, if somebody calls, and I've already had people reach out about a lot of things. I was on the phone yesterday with somebody that I won't divulge, and I think that will come to fruition in addition to this, obviously, separate from this clearly, because this is here to stay. I am so excited about this and so energized and just galvanized by a YouTube presence and possibility. Like I almost feel like I'm new in the business. I can't explain it, man.
No, I totally feel you. And it's like, I think when you have your own YouTube show like this, you put yourself into that cultural and that sports zeitgeist in such a fresh and new way where you're like, you're building yourself. Like you are your own entity. Unleashed is its own entity. It's separate from any company, any overhanging umbrella. This is the umbrella. And now you're building the things underneath that. And I think that's what's exciting about having a YouTube channel is the fact that it's your own and it's a way where you can really make your mark in the universe.
Yeah, there's no question. Yeah. Again, well said. On the money there, Jay. So, just to answer it more directly, if somebody called like that, would I listen? 100%. I don't think Michael wants a co-host. I don't think they're looking for anybody. I think this applies for me. I think this applies for J-Rod. I think this applies for all of you out there. You could be completely entrenched in something and happy and diligent and busy and fulfilled. And if there's a way to add to that, you take the call and you have the conversation. I mean, I learned that day one. Of course, it's common sense. Here's
a good question. What if Stephen A asked you to be his VP running mate?
Oh, boy.
Would you leave us for that?
Yeah. Oh, boy. It depends what side of the ticket he's going to run for. Okay. A few people have asked me that, and we're going to have Stephen on the show. I can't wait. Much like I couldn't wait to have Michael on, I think the Stephen conversation is going to be equally amazing and completely different. Because while I've known Michael forever, I actually did a show with Stephen.
Yeah.
And the conversations off the air. As a matter of fact, now he's since moved. I was at his house like 2 years ago, just sitting down, bullshitting. I'm just so happy for him. He's amazing. Like there is nobody in the sporting landscape that could touch him. And the fact that we've had this friendship and it's never dissipated, even when I went to San Francisco or, when I went to do the national stuff with Tiki for 10 years or the Fan or, there was a lot of stuff that was good to the point where, and I know you guys don't know this, but I will tell you this. I remember going to have a personal tryout with Stephen A for First Take. Like they were looking. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't get it.
That would have been
I didn't get it for whatever reason. I'm not sure. And Max did a good job. And I know that, Max and Stephen maybe didn't go toward the end the way that whatever. But and I know Stephen A great. I know Max a little bit. I got love for Max. Nothing bad to say. Max, talented guy, smart guy. I think very different debate styles, which I think which probably was never going to lead to the longevity that maybe some people thought it would.
Yeah.
But I remember going to this undisclosed spot in Manhattan and actually sitting in a little room with Stephen and doing a fake First Take show. Like, wow, and that was because Stephen thought that I was talented enough and he respected me enough to possibly get that job.
I can see it.
Well, it's not going to happen now. So I don't know if you see what it didn't happen. I didn't get the job, man.
Yeah.
Dude, if I got the job, I'd be a fucking millionaire right now.
I will, big
millions
time,
upon millionaire. I would be. I'd be sad.
Listen, maybe you could come and revive First Take now. Come through, revive the show.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm open to anything. Is there something like that? I will tell you this, right? I remember, then I want to get some Knicks stuff and I got some other stuff for you as well. I remember going into the city and doing it with Stephen, right? And I remember him calling me a few times like, hey, this might happen and we're going to get you in. And then his producer called me and all that stuff. And, I never put that out there for public consumption because, and maybe that hurt me in terms of getting a little bit more notoriety and a little bit more popularity. Just like when I had lunch with Mike Francesa, when Mad Dog left, I told my agent, don't put that out there. So there were a couple times where, I don't know, maybe if I would have played it differently, who knows, but everything happens for a reason. And I'm totally happy and fulfilled and energized. But, if you look at some of the names that Francesa was thinking about bringing in, Bill Simmons was one, Max was another. Was it Sid? It may have been Sid. And I was in the mix a little bit. So I just never, I didn't talk out of school. So I always kept that stuff to myself. But I remember leaving and getting on the ferry because we lived on the right across the water. So I take the ferry across to New Jersey. And I remember stopping at a bar. I never drink during the day. Like I mess around and, hey, have a scotch or mess around, have a gummy. Like I'll have my fun here and there.
Sure.
I never drink never during the week, ever. Oh. And I remember stopping at a bar and getting a scotch. And I was so disappointed. I knew I didn't get it. I knew it. And, this was a long time ago. This was well over 10 years. And I think what I did was I deferred too much because the dynamics, this emerging, massive, colossal titan of industry superstar. And I wasn't intimidated because I knew him. It's not like I never met the guy and I'm like, geez, this guy's out of his mind. I knew his style and I knew his sisters. I knew family. Like I knew him. We were friends.
For sure.
But like when the camera went on, I felt like I wasn't me. And who knows, if I would have been a little bit more me, would I have gotten the job? Maybe not. Maybe they were just looking for something different. I don't know. I don't know what went into the full rationale of bringing in Max and not giving me a chance. And listen, Max did well on the show. The numbers were good, very good. But I remember, and I just sipping that scotch, calling my wife. I'm like, I don't think I got it. I don't love the way I did today. I really, because I'm honest. Like I'm honest about that. To me, like I'm not going to live in fairy tale land. Like, oh, some people in my business, I can't stand this. Some people they're like, oh, great show, great. You know how I feel about the word great. I'm very protective. All right.
Yeah.
So my wife couldn't wait to hear how I did. I think was she pregnant? I don't even know. I think she was pregnant. I don't think we had kids yet. And I'm just like, I don't. And I was really depressed. I'm depressed is strong. Really down because it's like that quarterback clock. Like when you kill it, you just like I knew not to sound like an ass. I knew the interview with KS, it was going great. I could feel that the vibe, the energy, the flow, the content, his level of comfort. How we interacted. I knew it was a money spot. Largely because of him. I'm not even taking credit for that. Sure. But I also knew, like, in a situation like that, I'm like, I think I fucked up. I don't think I got it. And I didn't. Dang. Yeah. And if I did, you wouldn't know me, J-Rod. So, you should be happy. Well, you know me, but you wouldn't know me.
Yeah, I know you from like my childhood YouTube watching days. Because, like, I think that's true. Like, First Take was really at its, big popularity in like that 2016 through 2019 era. I mean, now obviously it's still got its traction as ESPN's main show, but I don't know if it has the same cultural boom.
It doesn't.
As it did when Max Kellerman was going Iguodala. Like, That was it. That was it. And like, I don't know, especially like the Skip and Shannon era was huge. See, that's why I think what we're doing here is so great because this is the next era of talk and sports media. It really is.
I know.
This more, laid back kind of early Rogan-esque like type of podcasting where you're kind of just shooting the shit with the fans too. At the same time, I really think that is the new meta, the new schema.
I've got to keep that up there because I had a hysterical story that I'm going to give you some on in a minute. Omar, I remember that well. I've got a challenge for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know what amount. We could talk about it off the air. If you deliver on this challenge, you'll get a little bonus. I don't take this the wrong way. I don't think you'll be able to do it.
Okay.
I think you'll fail. Not a lack of effort. Sure. Because I don't think that he'll view me as interesting enough. Get me on Rogan's show. Get me on Rogan's show.
All right.
We're gonna have to do that.
We're gonna have to start getting some hot takes thrown out here. I mean,
no, I'm not a hot take. No. I had to go through that stuff for a minute with the fan. Early on, come on, get the opinions out in 10 seconds. Everybody's got to know. I love Spike, but you got to know where you stand. Come on, we got to debate. We got to fight. Not that I ever throw out hot takes and said stuff I didn't believe, but no hot takes here. No.
I'm trying to think, and he's not the kind of guy who loves that either. And I think, I mean, I was a bigger fan of him a couple years ago too, but I think you and him would have a great dynamic, a great conversation. I think both of you are two guys who are you don't care about forcing your opinion on someone necessarily. You care
Mm-hmm.
about just hearing what the other person thinks, letting it all out, letting it fly.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? All right, so you got to get on that. So and keep that up, Omar. I promise I'll hit that. You guys are going to want to hear this story about Stephen A. on the golf course. I'll give you a good one. You've got to do this, and the level of diligence and not taking no for an answer has to be at an all-time high. You must be a persistent, pain in the ass pest. Somebody clip this, get this to I love Joe Rogan's show. I don't agree with everything he says, and some of the things he talks about, I really couldn't even add any depth to. Like, I mean, I follow everything about the world, but I mean, his level of knowledge is incredible, and his level of conversation is off the charts, phenomenal, right? So it will be an honor to fly out there and do the show. I would even pay for it myself. Like, I would even pay I really would. I would pay my own dime and get my own accommodations and go out there and hang out with him. I really would. And the funny thing is, too, you talk about like conversation and the art of doing an interview. That was one of the hardest things for me to learn as a young broadcaster. When you're a young broadcaster and, your dad, don't take this the wrong way, anybody. Your dad's not in the business, so doors aren't held open for you. Kind of, again, like that Rocky mentality. And you got to, and Sal has this as well. You got to fight and scratch and claw for everything that you get in this. It is hard, dude. The grind and being piss poor and moving around the country, never believing, but never really knowing it's going to work. And I'm going to go back to New York and I'm going to make it. Like, it's exhausting. It's exhilarating. It's worrisome. You name it. It's everything. And the hardest thing for me to learn was to shut the hell up. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Not when I'm doing a monologue or, banging it out with callers. When I would have a guest on, the art of asking a question as you get older, number one, you have to listen to their answer. Otherwise, your follow-up question will be a waste of time. And I remember, like, when I first started out, like, I'd have like 10 things written down, and like I would just kind of zip through them. But yet, if they give you a really interesting answer to the first question, it opens up a dialogue to go somewhere that might be the best part of the conversation.
Big time.
Yeah, that gets all the clicks and gets all the pub and all that stuff. So, but when you're really young and you try to prove to program directors and your peers that you're worthy of this spot, certainly in New York, you just don't shut up. And I had a tendency to ask a lot of questions, right? Well, I mean, to ask a question, but lace my question with opinion. I'm going to give you an example. So 2003, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 8, 10, 2010, 11, 12 PT would ask a question and say, let's say I'm talking to Aaron Boone. I'm going to take Michael K as an example. Hey, listen, Mike, so what do you think if things don't go, and I asked this question, if things don't go well for Boone this year, what do you think about his job security? And I laid out, right, that you actually saw the clip live, right? We played it for you earlier, and you actually see me shut up like a seasoned host and listen to his answer, right? Back in the day, what you would have gotten was, and I would just diarrhea of the mouth. Hey, Mike, if things go sideways, contract's up in 2027. If the Yankees don't do X, Y, and Z this year, do you think this will be the end of Boone as the manager? And then instead of laying out, I would say, because let's face it, he's had almost 10 years to get it done. And even though Brian Cashman hasn't done a great job, and you know where I stand on Brian Cashman, they haven't had enough left-handed hitters, and they haven't had a first baseman or a catcher or whatever it might be, or they haven't really had a third baseman, Volpe's. But you mangled the question with 37,000 opinions. And the people who are true. I was so guilty. I was terrible at that. I had to get better at that. And people who are listening and watching, they're like, what's the question? And it's even happened to me, and I would never name names because and they're younger and it's all out of respect. Like when I go on shows and they're doing, some people do what I used to do, I'm saying to myself, let's go. Well, hurry up, man. Come on. Ask the question because I know what it sounds like. So I would, I don't even know how we got into that, but I think it was one of the texts there. I think that, the Rogan stuff. I think it's real. And I think that he's great at that. And I think it's an art. You talk about the art of communication. It's one thing to espouse what you believe and present it in a clear, bold, compelling way, but you got to be able to listen. All right, let me get my Stephen A story up here. This is Omar, right? All right. So I remember when Stephen A. came on your show on 1050 back in 2010. All right. This was after we had already worked together. And had the golf story where he was asking you if he should use the 3-wood from the sand bunker. Holy shit. I've never seen anything like this in my life. So the golf course was New York Country Club. All right. We used to have a relationship there when I was at 1050 where I think it was like $50,000 worth of free golf. And I'm taking my buddies there every single weekend, and I'm just signing my name. BT, 3 friends, whatever. Just my buddies' college, like my best friend. Nobody in the industry. Like, I'm not there for work. Dan, Robbo, Maddie, Danny, Matt, another Frank, right? Scott. Again. And I'm just signing away. It's $460. Sure, I'll sign. We'll go play some golf, boys, right? So that's the course that we played. And Stephen A. and I would talk about golf a lot on the show. And he had never played, right? And I was trying to get him out. So I purposely picked a time, and not that I was great, but I at least knew how to play. I picked a time. I think we went out on a Sunday at or it could have even been a weekday, but it was like at 5:00, and we teed off. And I purposely looked at the tee sheet and all that stuff. Wide open, country club, so it wasn't that cheap, So it wasn't like it was a Boonie. No disrespect, I love some munis, but it was empty. So we go on the first tee box, and it was an elevated par 4. It was really downhill, and it played about, 290. So young me is going up there with my driver, or when I was really hitting the ball well, I would try to crush a 3 hybrid, a little downwind. And a lot of times we'd make the green and there was a body of water right in front of it. Maybe you go long, maybe you bang it right. Maybe as a lefty, maybe I push it left, but I a little chip on. That's how I'd always play the first hole. So we're on the first hole and I got driver in my hand. He's like, BT, I'll be right back. All right. I swear to God, I'm waiting 10 minutes. I'm like, where the fuck did this guy go? There's nobody around. He goes in the pro shop. He comes out eating a hot dog, right? And he's got these Argyle golf socks on, right? And he goes something along the lines of, oh yeah, how in his voice, I look like Tiger Woods right up until I step on the first tee box. Oh no, I look like Tiger Woods when I step up to the tee box until I take that first swing. He didn't have knickers on, but he had, I don't know what he was wearing, dude. It was absolutely wild. So I'm like, where were you, man? Come on, we got to go. I want to play 18. The sun's going to come down. I want to play golf. Let's go. The whole time he's on his phone. Now, I understand why. He's a megastar. It was with us. Who knows how many girls he was talking to, but a lot of it was business. I mean, he was single at the time. And he had just launched the Quite Frankly show, and he was already a superstar. So I get it. There were a lot of demands. But 10, 12 minutes later, he comes out of the clubhouse. I'm like, dude, where were you? And he's like, some people wanted my autograph. I'm like, I didn't see anybody there. Nobody was around. I go, hey, true story. He goes, hey, they might not want your autograph, but they wanted mine. I'm like, all right, touche, fair enough. So I guess some people come out of the kitchen or the pro shop and then he's buying his shit. We get to the second hole after that downhill one. And, trust me, I could easily take it 9 on many holes, which I'm sure I will this summer. And then I'll just pick up and keep it moving, open a beer. He is in not a fairway bunker, mind you. He is in a greenside bunker. Greenside. Get the wedge out. Now, it might take you 10 swings. You're going to get sand. You might skull one out that goes 100 yards. You might get lucky and plop one on the green. If you get lucky, it stays. There's a lot of things that can happen there. I could not believe. Now, I think I was sitting. I had a good drive. I was sitting like 1, but I pulled it, and I was always there. So, I have a wedge, so I can kind of at that point easily go over the trees to try to get there in 2. He's sitting like 6 or 7 in the greenside bunker, maybe higher. Again, maybe 9. And I hear him yell across the course, across the whole. So he's on the left side greenside bunker. I am probably hit it about 270-ish, 265. I'm getting ready to hit my second wedge all the way on the right, on the other fairway, getting ready to come. So we're a ways away. And all I hear is, yo, BT, what should I use? The 3-wood? I go, what the fuck is this guy talking about? A 3-wood? I go, and I yell, no, use the wedge. He didn't really even know what a wedge is. So, of course, I don't even think I hit it on the green, but I'm a little bit short. Now I got the cart and I put it up and I'm getting ready to chip on and putt and whatever. And he's still in the fairway, hacking away He's literally 9 feet from the cup, but he's in a bunker trying to get out with the 3-wood. That's the only time I've ever played golf with Stephen A. I can't wait to have him on the show. J-Rod, how about that?
Dude, that is too funny because I've seen the clip of you guys on 1050, I think, talking about the golfing or whatever. Like, I think just like, whenever I started this, I just went through like the YouTube rabbit hole of you and his show. And it was too funny.
There is some video of us. Now, I think the one where, is he wearing a suit in it? He always had a lot of suits on because he was doing TV.
He has a suit. You have a backwards hat on.
Yes. Okay. That was when I got my own show. Yeah. And I was doing middays and he had moved on. I think the station, I think they may have moved on from him, which is insane. And he was like doing he was doing like stuff on WABC, like after Sean Hannity, doing a lot of TV. And he came in as a guest. He did me a solid. So I know the video that you're talking about. I do know the video that you're talking about. And he's there all suited up. That is out there. That's a lot of fun talking to him. So we'll get him up. All right. So how about that golf story, though? Yo, BT, what do I use? The 3-woods. No, you knucklehead. Do you have a sandwich in your bag? All right, so the Knicks last night. All right, I'm not going to run through because you either watched it or you didn't. Knicks lost by 3. I will give you a couple little snippets from the game, but I want to do a little bit more big picture here. Brunson's got to be better. I mean, I know that Cat's taken some heat, certainly for me. I've also been fair in talking about Cat. He's been playing a lot better. 17 points, 17 rebounds, fouled out, bullshit foul. I didn't like that call. Mike Brown got teed up. Mike Brown's first tech of the year. How do you coach 60 games and not have a single tech? Like, that's a problem to me. And I just need a little bit more. I don't need, like Boonie with 9 ejections, but can you have 3 techs by game number 60? Can you have a little bit of energy? I'm going to need, and that's not who he is, so it's not going to come, but he did get teed up last night when Jalen got hit in the face with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the eye, got the black eye. That was an egregious miss by the refs. Anyway, I think it's safe to say here, again, more macro on the Knicks and less about the game. It was a fun game. Shamet was great. The Knicks starters, to a man, did not play well again. When you look at some of the plus minuses, OG, Hart, Bridge, they were all, negative plus minuses. Alvarado had a horrendous one. But Shamet was really good, and Cat had 17 rebounds, as I said. But forget about all that stuff. I was thinking about this. I just jotted down maybe in order at the top, and then I kind of just breezed through it here. The top 10 NBA teams. Obviously, the Knicks are in there. I'm going to push them to the side for a minute. Because many of you are like, well, dude, they got a chance, man. They got a chance. And I know that they have a chance. I don't think they have a great chance to win the championship. I'm on the record with that. But, of course, they've got a chance because they're one of the X amount of better teams, and I'll define that X in a minute. But top 10 NBA teams, no order. This is my order. OKC, Spurs, 1, 2. Pistons are up there. Celtics, the Cavaliers, the Timberwolves, Denver. Give the Rockets a little bit of love. And if now as I look to wedge in the Knicks in their rightful spot, 4, 5, 6 in that window. All right, so first matchup with OKC. So last night, very tight game. Could have won. We know OKC's better. Champions, better roster, better star player. Alexander's just better than Brunson. He's pretty much better than everybody. Maybe in a year or two, Kate Cunningham truly jumps past him maybe as a young guard. But he's that good. Obviously Luka. OKC, Spurs. Now, the Knicks have played very well against the Spurs. So if they get to an NBA Finals, again, I'm not banking on this, but if they do, I would feel pretty good about the Knicks and their chances to beat the Spurs. The Pistons, I think the Pistons own them. I think the Knicks are a little intimidated by the Pistons. And if you think that that's unfair to the Knicks, okay, which I can see some of you saying, I would then at least say that I think the Pistons look at the Knicks and they think that they own them. So if you don't want to at least consent or give me that, the Knicks are a little bit whatever when they face the Pistons. And the Pistons do not look at the Knicks as a real threat. They pushed them around the year ago. They lost a tight, tough series. Young team, only more seasoned, better coach and Bickerstaff, better star player Cunningham over Brunson. That's going to ruffle some feathers, but he's better. Better players, tougher. We'll see. But at least the Knicks beat them last year. And the Pistons, for me, are a top 3 NBA team. So you got a chance, obviously, I think, if things change, to at least have a chance to beat the Pistons in a 7-game series. Pistons, I think, would be favored. Home court, slightly better team, whatever. The Celtics. All right, Tatum's back. Tatum's going to be back. We know what happened a year ago. Knicks didn't play well against the Celtics. Playoff start, Bridges blocking shots at the horn. Knicks winning in Boston. Knicks with a big upset. Knicks could beat the Celtics in a playoff series, and they could beat the Cavaliers as well. So yeah, they could win. I think like last night, if they would have lost, say, 119 to 101, all right, 127 to 98, like what's going on here? But that didn't happen. So, I'm not changing my ultimate view on what the Knicks could become and what they could do this year, but I'm adding a little context that in the grand scheme of the NBA, obviously a little bit more Knicks-centric on this channel, on this show, and when you are more eccentric and you focus on one thing, the tendency is to illuminate the bed. That's just the way of the world when we do what we do here, right? Because think about this, guys. When you watch a team every night, you tend to, unless they're just like Jordan's Bulls or the 98 Yankees or, Walsh's 49ers or Brady and Belichick's Pats, or like one of those Bird Celtics, Lakers, Magic's Lakers. I think you are uber critical of the deficiencies, and that's kind of what you tend to poke at and worry about, and you kind of gloss over the good, right? And I think I'm probably a little guilty of that with the Knicks this year. Now, my ultimate assessment is still they're not good enough to win a championship. And at this point, that's all I want. I'm not interested in getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and losing. That means nothing. Granted, if you take another step and you get to the finals and you lose to the Spurs or the Thunder, and it's really, or Denver even, and it's really competitive. All right, you got to the NBA Finals. What's the final tweak to get you over the hump? That would be a fun run, but anything short of getting there is just an underachievement. And that's why Mike Brown has all the pressure in the world, and I don't think he's a championship coach. I never did. So I don't think the Knicks are going to win anything this year. But I think the ultimate downfall here, nothing has changed in my ultimate evaluation of these Knicks. Like Brunson, and there's a few. Mike Brown, to me, is not an elite. He's a good coach. He's a quality coach. He's a fine coach. He's not a championship coach. Problem number one. Problem number two, the Knicks' two best players, even though Cat's been playing much better defense, even whether it's on ball, weak side help, much better defense for the last month or so, and the numbers back that up. And the Knicks as a team defensively are top 10 in net rating. So they've done a better job as well. So they've kind of worked around the deficiencies of Cat and Brunson, but their two best players historically are atrocious defenders. Problem number two. And then you get to, and this, I have glossed over this because my target's been more Cat. I love Jalen Brunson, but the more I watch him, he's not a guy that you're going to run to, ride a championship with. Jalen Brunson's not a guy that you're going to ride to a championship win. He's not. He's been a great Knick. He's a big-time winner. He's a hell of a player. See, but you got the penthouse, the Alexanders, the Giannis's when he's healthy, guys like that. And then you get the next cut. And I think that's where Cade Cunningham, I believe, is more in that first cut than the one that Jalen's in right now. And I don't think Jalen Brunson's ever going to get better. Like 26.5 points a game, 7 dimes, shooting 47% overall, 84% from the stripe, 38% from downtown. All really good numbers. All-star, making all-NBA team. Knicks win 50+. Listen, I think Jalen Brunson's going to be here for over a decade. I think Jalen's number is going to be retired, and rightfully so. But that doesn't mean that Jalen Brunson individually as a singular basketball entity is going to be great enough, dynamic enough, and consistent enough to lead the Knicks to a championship. So if you believe that, and I do, I love the guy, but that's what I believe. Now you got to get to the other things, the coach, the secondary stars, and that's Cat, lesser extent. That's an OG, that's a Bridges. And I don't think that that's great enough either. So, last night was a fun game, especially the comeback. I love Sham. I've always been a Shamet fan. I got receipts on that. I wanted them to resign him. It bothered me that Tom Thibodeau didn't play him. He's the guy that I want playing. He's the guy that I trust on the road in the playoffs, kind of a swing game, playing 13, 14 minutes when the starters are out, and it's kind of that 3 or 4 minute interval where if the subs play very well, the Knicks very well might win that game. If the subs can't carry the mail, the Knicks probably going to lose that game. Like it's either going to build on a lead or it's going to cut into a deficit. That's how I view subs every night, obviously, but particularly high leverage championship type of games. I want Landry Shamet out there. I like him. I want Alvarado out there. And I know, Sohan was out there last night a little bit. I like Diawara. I like their depth. I like their bench. And again, last night was fun. Does it change anything? I mean, the goal is to still win. You got Oklahoma City, who's the defending champion. All right, when in battle back, you had a chance with a couple of shots at the horn, basically to tie it up. You didn't do it. I mean, are we handing out second place prizes here? I'm not doing that. I need more than that. So there's no consolation prizes. There's no, wow, last night was, I'm emboldened to say that, I believe more now that the Knicks are going to win the championship because they hung around and they battled the champs. Big damn deal. You're supposed to. That was what everybody thought that you would do this year. You know what I'm saying? That was reflected in the preseason betting odds in terms of winning the championship, getting to the finals, obviously representing the Eastern Conference, and the sheer volume of win totals. The Knicks were among the higher ones at every one of those four things. So you lost. All right, good game, but you lost. J-Rod, am I missing anything with these Knicks? You're a big basketball guy.
No, I mean, you got it right there. I think a lot of people, a lot of Knicks fans, I think with this loss, they're a little content. I've heard a lot of, issues with the refs going down, which, I don't want to hear. But listen, I think tough loss to the Thunder, close game. And it's one where, okay, you go, all right, we lost again to the Thunder. Can we get over that hump? But I think it's one where you lose by 3. Mitch is out, second night of a back-to-back. You know what? You can hang your head down on this, but also that if this comes to the finals, you got a chance. You've got a chance, especially with Shea's health being a little iffy this season, at least iffier than it has been in the past. I'd say you can walk away going, if everything goes right, if we have a Celtics 2024 finals run where everyone gets hurt on the way there, and once we get to the finals, it's a little bit of a diminished squad like the Mavericks were, the Knicks have a shot. That is my thought.
You know what?
Everything, it's got to be the Wizard of Oz golden brick road for them. Like, it's got to be, everything's kind of got to work out in this perfect way, kind of like it did for the Celtics in 24. And if that happens, I think they've got a shot. That's my takeaway. Okay,
listen, I respect that. I'm not going to push back too much. I think that's well thought out. I think you laid out well, and I think that for the most part, you're right. But to me, that's also a bit of a referendum on Leon Rose. I mean, you shouldn't need the golden brick. What'd you call it? The golden brick road, the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, the yellow brick road.
The yellow brick road. And not everything needs to be like synchronized in perfect harmony for the Knicks to win a championship. I mean, it might be true, but it shouldn't be that way when you gave up 5 first-round picks for Bridges and you did all the things that you did and you changed coaches. Like, it shouldn't be a Hail Mary type of a, 4th and 17 to win the championship if you built the team in a championship type of way.
No, I mean, definitely not. It should be a kind of thing where the Knicks have a steady grip where they're actually looked at as, before the season, as one of those top 3 title contenders, which I don't think this season they were. I don't think they were in, I think they were in that echelon of teams who could make it.
How many? Top what? Top what? So if they weren't top what? Give me a number.
5. I'd go they would probably go into this season. They were probably the 5th team with the most likely odds. But
understand this though. So I agree with certainly a couple of teams out west. So automatically that pushes it out, to that 3, 4, 5 window. So I think that your window of 5 is probably right. But now it's easy to be married to what's happening now. Pistons have thumped them, but think about what we were saying before the year. Knicks will not have a chance to do this with these circumstances again because the Pistons are still a little young, probably not ready. Before the year, probably not ready. No Jason Tatum. Magic are young. They've had a lot of years. Magic are young, not quite yet ready. Pacers don't have Halliburton. So go back to the mindset and the thought of where the Knicks were in the pecking order and what they were supposed to do in October. And now juxtapose it to now. And to me, there's been an element of underachievement. I think that's undeniable.
I think that you could totally agree with that because, looking at the landscape before the season, I mean, you're right. No one expected. I mean, with the Pacers, people obviously expected them to kind of have a fall off. I think with the Celtics, no one expected them to be the 2 seed. I heard people saying maybe they'd be 6 or 7 seed. I think you thought Cleveland, even before the Harden trade, was gonna be in that top kind of spot, with the other two falling.
Yeah, I agree.
And they haven't done that. And so, I guess the thought was the Knicks would be that 1 seed, and they would kind of go all the way, not have an easy road. They'd be challenged by Cleveland. But yeah, I think you're right. I think you could look at it as an underperformance, but also I think come playoff time is when this Knicks team will really, show their true colors, would be my thought.
I hope you're right. At Godson _222, Brunson's top when the Knicks are in the playoffs there. True, but that doesn't eliminate his deficiencies. I don't love his shot selection this year. That's why I had to make sure I get that out a little bit today, because I don't want it to be all about Cat, and I don't want to, teeter on the unfair part of the conversation here, because I do think Cat's been on a really good run, and he's changed his role, and he's embraced it. He should get more shots, but that's a Mike Brown Brunson thing. He's not getting as many shots. He does seem very engaged, animated defensively. He's made some adjustments. He's rebounding. They had 9 offensive rebounds, like 8 or 9 in route to 17. So, a matter of fact, right now I got no beef with Cat. There's nothing for me to say about Karl Anthony Towns, because again, I'm not just in the business of saying something and remaining married to it. I'm in the business of evolving. Now, I still don't think that they'll win the championship, because I don't think that Cat and Brunson and Mike Brown, et cetera, all the things I've said, I don't think that they're capable of playing that high a level basketball for multiple months in a row, which is what's required to win a championship. But that doesn't mean, number one, that I hope I'm wrong, which I desperately do, and also that I can't sit here and say Cat's balling. Cat's playing his ass off, and it's good to see. It's good to see, man. But the Brunson stuff, because he's so magical, and because he left money on the table and did the Knicks a solid with the team-friendly deal. That's going to change in a couple of years, obviously. But, he was very selfless in the sacrifice there. We recognize that. He's an easy leader. He's a great Knick already, I think. And he doesn't, like, the body language and some of his deficiencies aren't as identifiable as Cat. And so some of the things with Cat drive us nuts, and we react to that. But I do think on some level, Jalen Brunson's been getting a bit of a pass this year. I don't think he's had his great. I just gave you the numbers without even looking at him. 26.5 a game, 37% from 3, 46% overall, 83% for the stripe. He's going to, he made the All-Star team, all that great stuff. But has Jalen Brunson, to me, been as adaptable as I would like to see him, getting others involved? No, he has not been. And until he does that, if he does that, I think that the ceiling is what it is for the Knicks. Probably a tough, well-fought, grueling second-round exit, or maybe the Eastern Conference exit, Yeah.
No.
And by the way, Jay, hold on, Jay. I also, depending upon who they play in round 1, that is not going to be easy.
I mean, so what would be a team that would maybe scare you in a round 1, like the Hornets, I guess? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'd really be scared by them, but it depends where the Knicks finish. I mean, right now, they could finish 2, they could finish 3, they could finish 4. I'd have to double check to see if they could drop to 5. I don't want them to, but they're going out west. They've got some tough games coming up. You play the Thunder. Remember, I pointed out the other day here on Unleashed that this is the week that's going to tell me, all right, where are we going here? You got to get out west. The Lakers, that's Sunday. Playing Denver. You played OKC. You had the layup the other night with the Raptors. You should have won that game. Good. But we're going to learn a lot more about them. My opinion has not changed. My opinion has changed a little bit on Cat for the good. But in totality, my opinion has not changed on these Knicks. I wish it would, but it has not. All right, let me get to this as well. So, was talking about Kyler Murray the other day, and another name, whether it's the Jets, whether it's the Dolphins, whether it's the Vikings, whether it's the Browns, lesser extent, Cardinals, obviously, because Murray's going to be gone, though they still have Brissett. Tua's a name that you now start to hear a lot about. And, I saw this report, the Jets, quote, reportedly are doing their work on Tua. All right, to see what kind of guy, a teammate he is and all that stuff. I've already done all my work. It's called watching him play. That's all the work that I need. And I'm not remotely interested in Tua. I'm just not. Don't want him. Don't need him. Not appealing. He's got a weak arm. He never plays well when it's cold out. Can't throw the ball downfield. And I say this with great sensitivity, but that concussion issue is terrifying. Why the hell would you want Tua? Like, what is he going to do to change the building for the Jets? Now, Kyler Murray very well might not change the building either, but Kyler Murray's simply more talented than Tua. Like, if you're getting somebody on the vet min, which they're going to do, give me Kyler Murray 10 times out of 10 over Tua. What is the appeal with Tua Tagovailoa? I don't know. I mean, he is just, I watch him play, and even when it's 79 and a little humid down there in Miami, I just don't like the way he throws the ball. What the hell is he going to do up in New England? I mean, you could just look at his record because he's been in this division. What is he going to do up in Buffalo, up in New England, at MetLife from Halloween on? It's not going to do well. I mean, throws, if he were a pitcher, right? If he didn't hit his spots, he would be absolutely tattooed, meaning, he ain't throwing 100. He ain't throwing 97. He ain't not even throwing 95. To me, Tua has about a 92-mile-per-hour fastball. Not in 1979 or the 80s when I was watching ball, or even the 90s when I first started watching ball. Tua's fastball is like a 92 now, which means the disparity, the massive gap in his ability to just let it rip and just cut through wind and cut through elements compared to his peers is woefully less than optimal. Not interested. Don't want him. I don't even want him for $3 million. I just don't want him on the team. I don't think he's that good. And I ran through some numbers with Kyler Murray that were not very favorable. Warren Sharp had an incredible deep dive. I don't have it in front of me. It's probably over here with the rest of my notes. But the short version was 25 yards or more, 20 yards or more, 15 or more, increments of 5, obviously, down to 10 yards or more. He was either the worst rated, like 32 out of 32, or as some of those other ones moved past 32 based on the amount of attempts, 36 out of 41 in terms of yards per attempt and completion percentage. He too can't throw the ball down the field. But to me, that's more of an accuracy thing. He's got a good arm. He throws the ball with some zip. And I know he's had some injuries as well, but I'm less concerned with his injuries than I am with Tua. I don't know, man. Tua, this is a side. Like, if I was Tua and I was his dad, I would just beg him to stop playing football. I really would. He's got generational wealth, all right? And all you have to do is invest properly with what he's already made, and I'm sure he is, because he comes from very humble background. I met his parents. Me and Teak met him. Met his whole family. We had Tua on our show at one of the Super Bowls. I forget where we were. Maybe Indianapolis. I don't know. He had just finished his rookie, or he was getting ready to get drafted. And what an incredible young man. I mean, the bond that he has with his family, with his dad, with his mom, with his siblings, incredible pride for his land, which is beautiful. I mean, that guy's a warrior. Like, everything about Tua, I respect. So I'm not trying to just dump on him as a football player, but I got to separate the two. I don't think he's good enough. That's me with my analysis. He's not going to elevate the Jets. And now everybody's one shot away from being out in the NFL, but he's much more susceptible to that because some of his concussions have been fairly benign. And again, if I was his dad, and as hard as it is to get somebody, especially football, to strip off the helmet, strip off the pads, because that young man is a warrior. And it's just built into his culture. It's built into his DNA. I've got profound respect, not even like as high a level of respect as you can have for dude, because he is that kind of competitor. I would be begging him to stop playing. You only get so many redos with the concussion. You have one or two, even 3 over time spaced out, but some of the way, and there's varying degrees, obviously, but the way he's looked when he's lost like functional control with his hands, that is as scary as it gets. So I would be begging him to stop playing football. That's his family dynamics. From a football perspective, if I'm running the Jets, whether I'm Woody or I'm Muji or I'm Glenn, I'm not pursuing him. I'm not saying don't do your due diligence. Fine. You're going to do that with everybody. It's a Cashman term. Do your due diligence. Do it. But I would be stunned, one, if the Jets are really interested. If it's anything beyond the exploratory phase, and certainly 2 if they actually got him. And I would not like that at all. Have to be encouraged with the Knicks D and the rebounding. Rebounding's always been great, but now we've figured out their defensive scheme. Yeah, they were plus 15 field goal attempts last night. That's how you win games most of the time. No question about it. I mentioned that. They are a really good defensive team. Like, the numbers bear that out. I still don't really consider them a great defensive team because of the deficiencies with foot speed and size with Brunson, foot speed, and maybe instincts with Cat. You know, that pick and roll and just how they attack some of those soft spots. They've made some really good adjustments. They really have. And they signed 2 I'm not going to watch next year at Slay_kids. Yeah, you will. Yeah, you will. Stop the nonsense, dude. You're going to watch. I know what you mean. You don't want him, so you're probably just saying that to prove a point. There is not one person, unless it's rooting in, unless it was rooted in something political, you're going to watch. Like, I've actually got friends, and I know people who I don't know, who big sports fans, devout sports fans who have stopped watching certain sports based on, the infusion and of politics, whether it's from a commissioner or players, whatever. I mean, that's certainly a prerogative. I mean, but you're going to keep watching. Don't tell me you're not going to watch. I mean, the Jets could draft somebody. The Jets could start Brady Cook week 1, and you're watching. The Jets could get Tua, and you're watching. You can kick and scream. You don't want Kyler Murray. There's no way. He's not worth it. Kyler Murray comes to the Jets, starts week one. Week 1, you're going to watch. You're going to. What else are you going to do? You're going to go apple picking? That's what me and Sally used to talk about. Apple picking and pumpkin picking. 2 very enjoyable things. But there's an expiration point on that. That is what you do with the kids when they were real little. I remember we went to, there's a lot of farms in New Jersey with the apples. We would actually pick eggplants and then I'd cook them up. I haven't cooked them in a while. I gotta actually get some. And then we'd go to the pumpkin farm, get the kids pumpkins for Halloween, and you'd pull them in this little wagon, and you'd have apple cider and stuff. And it's incredibly awesome. It's a rite of passage as a young parent, but you couldn't pay me to do that again. You couldn't pay me to do it. And I laughed when I'm not going to watch the Jets. I'm not going to watch the Jets until Woody sells the team, or that's it. I'm done with the Yankees as long as Hal, which is unfair because he's not cheap, remains cheap, or Cashman's still there. Some of that is fair with Cash, or Boone, whatever. I'm not watching the Yankees. Yeah, you will. It's a bunch of nonsense. And you know why? It makes you feel better temporarily, but you're going to watch. So cut the nonsense. I read the tweet. Slay, you don't mean it. And I'm right. I'm right. J-Rod, do you know anybody in your circle, tight, close-knit circle, or even, just a passing, whatever, broader circle of friends or associates that has said they're not going to watch a sport because something, and then actually sticks to it and doesn't watch the sport? Do you know anybody?
No, of course not. Because it's just like, you're not going to give up like a routine part of your entertainment just due to like some, just due to some, what's the word? Disagreement with the front office or something like that. Like, I just think for people, like, obviously watching sports is part of your routine. It's part of your daily habit.
Definitely.
Like, you're gonna change that just because, this happened or the other. No, you kidding me?
Hold on. All right, this is interesting. Hold on. I was just doing that. I hear you. I got you on that. All right, so this is going to be even tougher than I thought. Rogan has said, I guess, 1,000 times or 100 times, if you try to get on and ask, he usually doesn't invite you. Yeah, I can imagine.
That's what I mean. This is gonna be like a long-winded scheme where, like, you on this show, you say some sort of statement that catches the eye of Rogan. Then you build up a mutual friendship with somebody who is friends with Rogan. You then go, hey, you see this clip, huh? Maybe Joe would love it. And then Joe sees it and he brings it on.
No, but okay, but there's limits to that. I can't be doing my show based around whether or not Joe Rogan's going to hear something and like it and say, "Oh, okay,
we're going to just." It's just BT Unleashed. You're now just going to switch to like an alien conspiracy theory channel. Just going, I'm hearing rumblings that from Krypton.
Joe's into this. Yeah, and we ain't begging here, man. I mean, I'd pay my way, as I said. We ain't begging to get on anybody's show. Now, what you need to do, though, and I'll read this in a sec. You've got to, or you could get that down, please. you can be ultra creative here, Jay. See, this is how you got to work in this business, right? It's how your mind has to work. You just got to think like this instinctually. So I threw out the challenge. If you guys are just tuning in, I did not divulge the denomination. Maybe I will privately. I'm going to have to privately to J-Rod, right? If he gets me on Rogan's show, which I don't think he can. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. If he gets me on Joe's show, I'm going to give him X amount of money bonus, right? In addition to what he gets paid weekly here on the show. Now, you're probably processed as you just laid out, let's get some clips and get it to people who know Joe. And then maybe, okay. But what you could do, this would be the more unconventional route, but probably a better route to actually get me on his show is for you to reach out to him and get him on our show. And then once he's on our show, then the reciprocation is much more inclined to happen. This is how you got to think, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll get Rogan on Unleash. He'll talk about his favorite. I mean, listen, he was a Jets guy. He has spoken about that before.
I know.
He hates football, which would be an interesting thing for you guys to talk about too. Like, he despises American football. And
why though? What's the reason for that?
He calls it like fake fighting, like fake real men's sports. Like, the only sport to him that truly showcases dominance is martial arts and like true physical fighting domination. He feels like NFL football is like a fake, like
I got you.
Like a sport that doesn't show a true male to male domination.
He's a beast, man. I mean, that martial arts stuff's a real thing.
Yeah.
That's why, hey, listen, never. I mean, if you're walking around picking fights as an adult, you're almost hopeless. But always understand, it's usually the quiet dude who's not saying much, laying in the cut, and you're going to take that quietness or just being a little less aggressive, maybe as an invitation to push the envelope. Generally, the guys who aren't woofing. I thank God I haven't had a fight in forever, and I hope I never have one. I don't plan on having one. Keep that up the rest of my life. But the guy who's woofing, let's go. Come on, let's go. Hold me back. Tugging at his shirt, all that bullshit. That guy can't fight. The guy who's just, kind of like this, okay, and everything is ready, whether it's a chop to the neck or taking out a knee or whatever you're doing, that's the guy that can literally kill you if he wanted to.
Oh my God.
Rogan's a beast with that stuff. I mean, I disagree with his take on football. It's not soft. You want to tell me it's softer than it used to be? Fair. You want to tell me martial arts or MMA and all that stuff, hand-to-hand combat, much more threatening and tougher than football? Agreed. But yeah, Joe, maybe this is how I get on Joe. Maybe I just call Joe out.
Exactly.
And maybe this makes the waves. Hey, Joe, you want to fight? Nah. we don't want that for sure. All right. A super. Can you read that handle? That's a long one, man.
Yeah. Super Game and Chill Bros. 6643.
Good job. Hey, BT, been following you since 2019. Got me through a lot during COVID. Nice. That was a wild period. My God, doing shows with COVID and with Tiki and no sports to talk about. My goodness. As for the quarterback conversation for the Jets, I think it's a smokescreen. I don't know exactly how they're going to address it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Very nice of you. Very generous of you. And I've heard that a lot. And by the way, you guys helped get me through COVID as well because you're trapped. So this was always the outlet to get on the air. Teek and I were on for 3 hours or 3. Me and Sal were 4. Me and Teek were 3. And on the fan, me and Teek were 4. But nationally, when we were doing it during COVID, it was 3. And it was freaking brutal, man. There was just nothing to talk about. I mean, yeah, we don't need to get to COVID, but yes, understood. The Jets quarterback situation to me, see, I think this is why I get a really good feel about Moochie here, and I have for a minute, is that, number one, there's not a lot of leaks within the Jets building. It seems like they sealed some stuff up, and that's been a problem forever, right? Number one. Number two, he's involved in a little bit of everything here. Yeah, maybe a little Kyler Murray. Yeah, maybe. And I mean, I would be okay with it on the cheap, but I mean, I'm not running to get Kyler, but Kyler Murray. We'll do our homework on Tua. Tanner McKee out there with the Eagles. See, we got some interest in him. This is what you're hearing. Maybe the draft. I think I saw yesterday the Jets are the favorites to draft Ty Simpson. Maybe we'll mess around. We'll draft somebody. Jacoby Brissett. We like him. maybe trade for Mac Jones. Although I saw yesterday that Mac Jones is going to command a first-round pick. Peace, man. Peace out.
Yeah, no way.
At least that's what the Niners are asking for. Now, I don't begrudge him for asking for that. Ask what you want, and then I'll decide if it's too much, too rich for my blood, and I'll just walk away, or there'll be further engagement, and we'll settle on a 2 or whatever it might be, or a 3 that becomes a 2, or even maybe a 2 that becomes a 1, whatever. You ain't getting a first-round pick from Mac Jones. That sure as hell's not happening. But I just think that there's not a lot of good opportunities, not a lot of good options here for the Jets. I wish that there were. There's a couple of options that, are okay. All right, we'll see. And you got the 3 first-rounders for next year. And whether it's an Arch or another quarterback, Dante Moore, who went back to Oregon, who would have gone second this year. I don't know if the Jets would have taken him. They probably would have. Maybe they would have traded out as well. But either way, I just think that there's a lot of interest in a lot of different avenues, and it does seem like the Jets are very busy. They got the Brees Hall thing done. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be maybe the transition. It was the higher number, which surprised me a bit at 14.3 for the franchise. But that's just giving them a window to obviously work out a long-term deal, which I believe fully that they will. Now you got to carry that number until you actually get it, so it's going to count against the cap as you jump into free agency, blah, blah, blah.
We got some breaking news.
What do we got? Is it good? Give me something good, J-Rod. Oh, let's go. What do you got? Wait. Hint. Give me the sport.
Football, NFL.
Is it about the Jets?
Bills.
The Bills.
I don't know if it's
shit.
Do you want me to just give it to you?
Let's hear it, man.
Guess.
I want to hear it.
Adam Schefter. I mean, the info isn't there yet, but DJ Moore is being traded to the Buffalo Bills.
DJ Moore's a pretty good player. He's solid. Okay. All right. I mean, I was hoping for something a little more earth-shattering than that, but breaking news nonetheless. There you go.
Who gave it to us? Someone in the comments drop.
Well, so hold on a second. Why are the comments beating you to your job? That's your job, dude.
Oh, Slay Kids was quick, and then I confirmed on Twitter. So there we go.
So you confirmed a watcher and a listener's text. So that's how the pecking order's going now. That's how J-Rod does his job. Somebody does it for him, and then he comes in.
And then I confirm it.
It's like the meaningless report, and it happens all the time. Like you'll get like Schefter or like a Rappaport, and I don't mean meaningless on their end. Like they're legitimately breaking the story. Garofolo, whomever. Like there's so many good people who cover the NFL, and then like I don't know, some writer for some city will confirm 9 hours. So-and-so was able to confirm. No shit. The biggest people in the industry have it. You confirmed nothing. What did you confirm? You confirmed.
And that's me.
I mean, yeah. I'd love to know how that confirmation goes, too. Hey, this is so-and-so from 2-Bit newspaper, the X News. Schefter had it, Rappaport had it, this guy had it, Garofolo had it. It was on Good Morning Football. Stephen A. was talking about it on First Take. Can I just confirm? Is this true? I mean, I confirmed. Come on.
Oh, wait. Here's a little more Rogan.
What do we got here?
Yesterday was Steve-O. He said he's been to a lot of UT games. Makes sense. He's in Austin and likes football. And wait, BT, you don't believe in aliens?
I don't. I mean, I listen. I don't. I don't give that much thought. I don't. What I believe in. To get serious for a moment, and I'm not. Listen, I don't know. I'm not here to denounce the presence of. I don't know enough about. Like I don't study a lot about aliens. Okay, sure. I follow world politics. I follow the economy every day. I follow sports. Follow all that stuff. I'm not going to mess around and say there's no aliens because I don't want anybody coming down here and abducting me. I don't want. What I believe in is what I believe in from a religious perspective. Honestly, I'm not going to. I don't. I'm preachy. I don't shove it down anybody's throat. What I believe is what I teach my family, what my wife and I are in absolute accord on, and what we teach our kids. That when we die, we're going upstairs and Jesus is waiting for us. That's what I believe. That's what my entire family believes. Right. So the other stuff. That's why as we get ready for Easter, as Christians, that's why the resurrection, to me, I mean, it's funny. We all get ready for Christmas when Jesus was born, but the Easter is, when the ultimate sacrifice, which really is what Christianity is built on. Anyway, I don't really venture into that too much, but you better believe I believe that. the alien stuff, I don't know, man. I just I don't. Do you believe in aliens? You do?
See,
Do
it
ya?
gets tricky. Okay, I'm a believer in everything. Like I believe that everything is possible and that everything either has happened and or will happen just because of the infinite possibilities, the universe, continuously expanding.
Can I challenge? Wait. Can I challenge you for a
Sure,
sec?
sure.
Obviously, respecting your opinion, that's a little bit of the easy way out. What do you believe?
Of course
I
it
believe,
is. Of
I
course it
believe in the
is.
possibility of everything.
That's the thing is I think on either side, there's an easy way out where it's like, either the science side or you end up hitting a point where you go, I don't know. I don't know where it goes further than this last point. My belief in aliens is just like, I would love to believe that. And I do think that being a human being is like an incredibly special and unique experience. I don't think there are any other species like that. But it would be crazy to me to think that there's not at least one thing out there in the universe that's not at least, maybe it's not speaking, but at least moving, moving around.
Okay.
That would be my thought.
Fair enough. Thinking about this is weird. I admit this is going to sound wacky. And I've thought about this a few times, right? So, we have our world and you guys subscribe to whatever religion you do, and I respect it, right? You guys know where I stand on what I believe and what I follow. And I never shove it down your throat. And I genuinely respect others. Like that's the way of my world, right?
Sure.
But I have thought sometimes, I'm like, all right, so if and I don't mean God like that. I mean, if there's a greater existence above us, like alien form or whatever's going on the planets. Now, certain planets you can't exist based on the heat, based on the atmosphere, based on the lack of oxygen, based on the cold. Like, I love the planets and I love science. But imagine, so we have our world and we look at ants and we look at these little tiny bugs and we're like, all right, we need them. They're part of the, the fabric of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is there a chance? This is going to sound really crazy, man. Is there a chance? And I'm going to stick with ants. That ants have their little world, right? And instead of just crawling around and looking for a little remnant of food, hopping on the ice cream stick during the summer when you got 9,000 ants swarming on it. Is it possible that ants, again, in their own vision, have built out their own world underneath? Like the ant wakes up and wherever they make a little dirt tunnel, like that's their version of Starbucks. Like they go on with their own.
Yeah.
And like everybody has, maybe this will get me on Rogan. And I've actually thought about, I don't really necessarily believe it, but I thought they've got to do something. Like they got to have some existence. Like, I don't know, is there an baseball team? Is there or whatever sport ants play? And they've got their little tiny stadiums and they've got their little schools and they go about their way. Because you can't just crawl around all day with no purpose, can you?
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting point too, because you'd like to believe, but I think as people we are predisposed to believe that most other animals, they're kind of mindless, like they just kind of go about their routines, they do their thing, they work off of driven by sex, driven by food, driven by shelter and warmth, but there must be something in between those things that's they don't think in a language, but they must think in some sort of images that guide them somewhere. I don't know if that's exactly lined up with what you're kind of saying, but they must have a life that is more than just I'm eating.
They're just existing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you? I know you studied. I know you studied journalism. Did you study philosophy at all? Or did you have a secondary?
That was my minor.
It was. There you go. Look at him. Yeah. Nice, dude.
I mean, not that that could get you a job anywhere, but it was fun. I loved the philosophy classes. I loved just talking about it, just kind of throwing up the hypotheticals in class. Always a great time. Probably.
Yeah. The funny thing about the hypotheticals, right? So start wrapping up soon. This is true, right? So you guys know I went to Catholic school, right? Not only high school, but grammar school. And I remember and not just a religious thing, just a thing in general. I have always had issues with hypotheticals, right? Not that I denounce them entirely. I don't. But I am an evidence man. I need a little bit of proof. I am in constant search of answers, right? I want to be able to prove things. If I'm going to believe something, I want to have something rooted in the reality that can be traced back to something by somebody far more intelligent than me that is able to either prove it or disprove it, right? I'll give you an example. I used to drive her nuts. She couldn't stand me. I had a nun in the 7th grade, Sister Connie. Big, scary. And now my sister's 3 years older than me, and she had my sister. My sister's 8. My sister's getting like another degree from Oxford University as we speak currently. She's brilliant. So proud of her, man. I don't know how we grew up in the same house, like 10 feet down the hallway, her bedroom, my bedroom. She's the most intelligent person I know. She's absolutely brilliant.
That's
right?
Incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know how she wants to learn so much. I don't have that capacity. Anyway, so I guess I had Sister Connie like in the 5th grade when we started switching classes, and she had my sister for a bunch of years. And Sister Connie taught religion and something else. Maybe English. No, that was Sister. Either way, she taught 2 subjects. And when I roll through, even though I didn't have the best reputation at this point by the 5th grade in terms of getting in trouble, she thought, well, I had Tierney's sister, who's an angel and an A+ 9,900 student. This is going to be phenomenal. Exact opposite, right? And I remember that she would. I remember we were talking about like the Beatitudes and some other religious things, and I remember she was talking about like the commandments. And this is basic stuff, but she was trying to say about or communicate how either God or maybe how God communicated to Moses with the 10, something like that. And she was stating it as fact. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful at all. I really wasn't. But I kept raising my hand. And a lot of times in school, I was a complete wise ass and always in trouble. I wasn't doing that here. And I'd raise but Sister Connie, all right, I believe you, but how do we know? How do we know that that was said to Moses or whatever it was? Like, where's the proof? She's like, well, it's in the Bible, or it's in here, or it's written in the Beatitudes, or it's in the commandments. I don't know. And I'm like, I know that we can read it, but how do we really know? You weren't there. And I promise you, it was one of the few times I wasn't trying to be a pain in the ass. I really was inquisitive. Like I wanted to know the answer. But how do you know? Can you know? She got so frustrated because I don't know how you communicate to a pain in the ass 5th grader that you do know. Like at some point, there's got to be a leap of faith, whether it's with faith or with aliens, or as you deduce what's right for you and wrong for you or inconclusive to you. I mean, there's going to be a point where you got to either accept it or not. And separating religious from the other stuff, the hype, which I do accept, the hypotheticals about, and again, I'm not denouncing. I'm not going to say there's no aliens. I don't know. And to me, there's not enough proof for me to say that there are, but I need an answer. At the end of the day, I need a batting average. I need an OPS to say this guy's a great hitter or this guy's a shitty hitter.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, a lot of these beliefs and a lot of these things, like where, there's not even just scientific evidence, but just even a word of mouth from someone, you just got to go off faith. You got to go off what you believe in. And I think that's the great part of it is it also kind of just like breaks down what truth could be. Like, what is true and what is not. Here's CLR 8810. ET phone home.
I saw that in the movie theater. Have you seen ET? You better have seen ET.
Of course.
Okay.
That's such a classic. Also, I saw these 2 comments. These were just great. I mean, it was a couple people just like, BT, you're a GOAT. You motivated me to start my own podcast, coming up on my 40th episode.
Wow.
And then here's another.
Congrats.
You inspired me to create my own podcast. Wow. Spent a month learning OBS and how to record. Thanks for the inspiration.
That's awesome.
I thought that was so awesome. I mean,
that's great. I love that stuff. That's awesome. And listen, I think there's a couple of things. There's a line. Was it not in Donnie Brasco? What? Carlito's Way. Carlito's Way, right? Have you ever seen Carlito's Way?
I've heard of it. Haven't seen it yet.
You got to see.
I know. That's another
Carlito's Way. Brasco was good. I like Brasco. Carlito's Way. Hey, hit me up on the text here. Anybody loves Carlito's Way? My God, that was so good. And Pacino goes to Sean Penn at some point. He's like, "You can't fake tough. Like, you a tough guy now, huh?" Like he was trying to get involved in drugs and the mafia, doing all sorts of coke and crazy stuff. And Sean Penn was caught up, and he was like he was a geek. He was a completely he was a numbers guy. He was there for the intellect, whatever, and his business prowess, not because he was a hit guy or a mafia dude, but because he was hanging around at the club and doing drugs and, entrenched with Pacino. He thought he was a tough guy. And there's one scene where he goes, "Oh, you think you're a tough guy now? You can't fake tough." Like, he's like, "All right, you're on the streets now, man. It is real." And, just like I'm saying that because some of those texts that you read, you can't fake hustle. You can't fake hard work. You can't fake commitment. So, I mean, listen, I don't want to overstate that. Overstate this. I do appreciate those texts. Hopefully, there's more out there where they've seen me quickly pivot from WFAN and say, screw it. I'm not taking this lane down. I'm way too good to deal with this nonsense. No way. We're getting up and we're getting out there, and I don't care how it looks right away, and I don't care that I'm not making a freaking penny right away. We are building this thing into a monster. And if that's been some inspiration for some of you guys, that makes me feel awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd say, you're trailblazing the thing here for a lot of sports people. Like, that's what I can say is, like, I think a lot of the fans, I think a lot of people in the sports world right now, they see this and, they see somebody who, like you say a million times, a lot of episodes is like, see someone who got thrown a huge wave of adversity, came back and is now almost emerging from it a phoenix, trying to be bigger than he ever was. So I think people really take that and run with it.
That means a lot. That's awesome. All right, there, homie. So start getting on the Rogan pursuit. Don't laugh. I mean,
no laugh. It's going down. I mean, today we'll start devising the plot.
Yes, we will. If you guys are too many of you know this, but if you missed the conversation with Michael yesterday, Michael K, it's up on the channel. It's in the library. Go check it out. I'm going to definitely have on Don LaGreca next week, and that'll be a different kind of awesome conversation. I've known Don as long as I've known Michael. I always knew of Don's name, and he was doing updates at WFAN a million years ago. Sports phone before that. But I met Don when I met Michael when I went to 1050 back in 2003. So, I was so happy when he got the Devils TV job. I mean, he loves hockey. He is a grinder. Some of his rants are all time. I'm going to see if I can get permission to maybe play one of his rants and then have him react to it. So we'll have a little fun with Donnie, and then we'll get Patino up, getting ready for the tournament there sometime next week. Obviously, laying the foundation. It's going to be a little tougher because the schedule is crazy with the travel and First Take. We'll get Stephen A up. I want to get Boonie up. I want to get A-Rod up. I want to get Sal back up for sure. By the way, speaking of BT and Sal, 2.0, it is April 2nd. It is out Mulcahy's in Wantagh. It's up on my X account, and it's a direct link to the tickets. We've already sold some. So if you guys want to jump in, I think there's about 250. There's about 350 that are available. So it's a little smaller than the Vogel Theater that we sold out in late January for the first one. Fully expect this one to sell out as well. I wouldn't wait too long. There's a whole meet and greet package. Carl Banks is going to be there with us. So, and obviously get the likes up, get the subscriptions up, get it out there. We'll hit 18,000 maybe tomorrow, certainly by the end of the weekend. And Sunday, one more reminder, Sunday at 6 p.m. That's the target. Could be 5. But between 5 and 6 p.m. on Sunday, I will drop separate content here on BT Unleashed, my all-time Big East team, as we get ready for what's my favorite week of the year. I absolutely love the Big East tournament. So it was not easy coming up with 5 starters going back to 1979 and all the way up until now. So I got the 5 starters. I got the head coach. The head coach was tough as well. I've got the 7 guys coming off the bench from my actual team, and then I've got a full 10 deep honorable mention. So most of the schools represented. I think you guys will dig it. Maybe, maybe I can get Mullen on the show at some point. I haven't talked to Chris in a little bit. It's been a little while. I got to reach out and see if I can get him up. But all good things to come. Like it, subscribe it, get it out there, share it. Obviously, the more traction we get, the more we can do, the more that we can do. So have a great Thursday. Go check out the K-Spot. Check this out with the shorts. J-Rod's going to get them up later on. And I will see you tomorrow on a Friday. Hey, No Rules Friday. That's always fun. No Rules Friday, 10 a.m. right here on Unleashed. We'll see you. Peace.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your